What if I told you the Jets trade out of the top 10 and still walk away with a franchise-changing draft class? What is up, Jet fans? I'm Julian Locasso, joined by my co-host Nick Perry, and this is the Gang Green Report. Welcome back to another edition of Mock Draft Mondays, where we'll be building the future of the New York Jets one pick at a time. In today's mock draft, guys, we're going to be flipping the script, trading down from the 7th overall pick to stockpile more capital and attack this draft 7 rounds deep. And I don't mean just a regular trade down. We've obviously done that before in the past, but this time we're going to look to trade even further down into the later parts of the first round. So guys, let's get into that. Going to pull up our handy dandy mock draft simulator. And guys, I just don't think this is out of the realm of possibilities, but the one big thing that obviously the Jets need to have in this scenario is we need a trade partner to do it. Obviously, it takes two to tango. It takes two to make a big-time trade. So I think the Jets are going to be in a situation where they may have this as a potential option, but we need to find somebody who's willing to come up that far to make the trade. So let's get into this draft simulator. Let's see if there's even anybody on the board that's willing to trade with us that far. The only person that we are looking to trade with right now that has this on the board is the Dallas Cowboys. Nick, what do you feel? We feel like we should go out and try to go back in, get a little bit more trade offers?
So yeah, I feel like we could always try that
Try this again.
because I feel like, let's be honest, if we're getting the 7th pick or we have the 7th pick, I think more people will be calling for that than one team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Steelers could be a potential option. They're all the way at 21. I have a feeling that there's rumors right now swirling that Jackson Dart might be on their board. All right, so in this one we have Denver at 20 and then the Raiders at 37. That would be in the second round. I don't think we're going to go that far, but we will look to tango with the Broncos. Realistically, based on the draft chart, it would take a lot more than their first and their second to get this done. We might even be able to get a first next year, but they're saying that that's a 12% option. So let's try and let's shoot for at least this as a trade, maybe even, yeah. So we can get their second, their mid-round pick, their second this year, and their first this year. So let's try to offer this trade up. I think this is realistically based on the numbers, at least from a chart grading scale. This could be the option here. So who did they end up? Let's see what they ended up taking at that pick. They ended up taking Armand Membu, somebody that we've had on our board for a while. A couple notable other guys that fell. Tyler Warren ended up going the next pick. Ashton Genty ended up falling all the way to the Saints at 9. Jahdae Barron, guy that we talked about. Matthew Golden went to the Miami Dolphins. And Ted McMillan went all the way down to 15.
That's crazy.
He's been a guy that's been falling a lot in recent mock drafts. But let's look now here at pick 20. We have a couple of interesting names still on the board. Obviously, Malachi Starks, big-time need at safety. You know, he's a guy that's an interesting option. Luther Burden III, also a guy that by many draft experts are saying that he's potentially going to be the wide receiver 1 in this draft. I know a lot of Jets YouTubers and guys that are draft experts, at least in the Jets community, all really love Luther Burden. He had a down year in 2024. You know, obviously, statistically, he had a 1,200-yard season and 9 touchdowns the year before. Very, very productive, but he had a very down year this year. A lot of people saying that's because of the quarterback play or whatnot, but he is a guy that is deadly against man coverage, and the Jets really need a cornerstone wide receiver to put us opposite of Garrett Wilson. That could be another option. James Pierce Jr., an edge player that's also phenomenal athlete, but somebody who is seen to have a lot of character concerns.
Yeah.
Kenneth Grant is somebody that you and I have talked about before as being somebody who might actually be in consideration as like one of the better defensive interior guys in this draft. And I think he's a perfect complement for Quinnen, especially.
Sure.
High pass rush win rate at the interior position, high run stop rate, and a good run defense graded player. This is like literally the guy that you can put next to him. 6'3", 339 pounds. You know, this is a guy that could literally be stuck right next to Quinnen Williams, that A-B gap guy that you could play all over the interior, and this is going to be your run stuffer next to him.
Yeah.
That could be a really attractive option. If we want to go tackle, Josh Simmons, another big guy that's still on the board. Kelvin Banks Jr. If we want to go another wide receiving option, Emeka Ibuka, go into the whole Ohio State Jets theme.
I know.
Nick,
That's
where's your head
exactly
at right now?
I was gonna say that's exactly kind of like who I was looking at. I feel like people kind of have him like all over. You've seen him like as low as the second, which I feel like is kind of crazy. But I feel like coming off, he is just outstanding. Like this kid, he is like he just does everything right. I mean, look at the stats. I mean, he's 81 receptions, almost 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. Again, great program, obviously. But
Yeah,
I mean, he's looking at you. I think we'd be, yeah. Which again, putting him up next to Garrett, we need that wide receiver too. The only guy,
okay
uh,
with it.
yeah, I would totally. I feel like where do they have him? 23. So,
23, we're at pick
I mean,
20, so
yeah,
good value.
I feel like he's there. The only other guy that I think would be really good, who we just kind of hit on, is like Kenneth Grant. But I feel like we've been hearing so much about him, and he's fallen so much. They even had him at like as high as 5, like or right, like 5 or 6 or 7 at one time next to
Grant, I've
Mason
been
Graham.
seeing him go in like the teens, like the upper teens. So like
Yeah,
this would be like his like sweet spot if he were to go at any point in time.
yeah, I would take a Buka.
I like Ibuka. We could go with Ibuka. Let's go Ibuka pick 1, completing the Ohio State Jets. So now at 52, obviously we picked the wide receiver. We have a couple of big needs that we still have to hit on. We have interior, the defensive line, big need. Wide receiver now is taken care of. We don't have to worry about wide receiver. Safety, still a big need. Defensive interior, offensive tackle. Let's see who went in the picks before us in this second round to round out the second round so far. Colston Loveland actually made it to the second round, and he was the first pick of the second round by the Browns. TJ Sanders goes to the Giants. Nick Scorton made it to the second round. Darius Alexander, Alec Ayominar, James Pierce Jr. actually fell to the
Just missed us.
Patriots in the second round. That's crazy. Xavier Watts went to pick right before us.
I was literally just gonna say, is he there? Because that would have been
Uh,
absolutely perfect. But no.
went off the board. There's a couple of interesting names still on this board here. Obviously, a lot of top end talent at the cornerback position that are still available. Trey
Hmm.
Amos, Maxwell Hairston, Siobhan Revel, big time guys that could help us in the secondary. Obviously, we did bring in Brandon Stevens, but who knows if that's actually the long term option at corner two. I'm gonna say because of the money they gave him, he is going to be starting caliber on that position. Other big names that pop off to me, at least from positions that we could sneakily need, are edge.
Yep.
So Braden Swinson and Princely Umen I don't know how to pronounce that, but that is my attempt at saying his name. Those are going to be guys there. I'm interested to see what the tackle board looks like. Ariante Irsay from Minnesota, somebody that could be potentially a guy that we could take a swing on in the second round. We did go see him at his pro day within the last week or so. So that could be somebody that is an option. Tight end. I'm okay with waiting on tight end for
Yeah,
right
especially
now.
with who's there.
Safety. You know who, honestly, we haven't looked at, but he's here right now? Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. Somebody that intrigues me at the safety spot. I know that there's a lot of better options at safety that we could potentially get later on, but this is a guy that he's a playmaker in the backfield. He didn't have a good of a year this year because of the ACL. So, but I do think if he comes back healthy for next season, this is a guy that could potentially be an option for us, especially if he falls because of the ACL. This could be a guy that could be an option for us there.
Yeah.
I like that as a potential swing here. So yeah, there's some good interior guys as well, but I think it's a little rich for where we're
Yeah.
picking right now in the second round. We have 2 second round picks too, so let's take that into consideration.
I would
We
say
have
like
2
Alfred
second round
Collins
picks.
is there, but we can always, like you said, the second one.
What would you like to lean towards right now? Got the receiver.
Yeah, we got the
Think of needs.
receiver.
So obviously interior, defensive line, edge, tackle.
I would think tackle here, honestly, because we talked about this before, getting like the trenches. Yeah, I feel like we saw
Yeah,
Irsay. I mean, he might even go. We could probably even get him later at the next one too.
we could potentially. He might be there, but if you want to go out and get your guy, maybe you go out and get him now.
Yeah, I feel like the only other guy who was on there was go back to all of them. Like yeah, was Princely. I was looking at like Princely, but that's only like you said, kind of a sneaky need, outstanding player. Speed is insane. Who knows
I
what
like the
JJ's coming
player.
off? Yeah, who knows what JJ's coming off with the Achilles?
Swenson's
Same thing.
also a really good option. But
Same
I
thing
like
with Braden
I
Swinson.
like Princely because of his run defense ability.
Yeah, yeah.
Better run defender. Let's go Princely in this one. Let's get a little different. And I think tackle might still be there.
I was gonna
He
say
is.
tackle's definitely gonna
He
be
is
there.
there. So let's take him now.
Yep.
That clears up those two dilemmas. So we got both the guys we wanted. Now in round 3, this is where now I would look to potentially go either interior defensive line or tight end. We have 2 good tight ends on the board that are here.
Mason Taylor, and then there's our boy Terrence
Mason
Ferguson.
Taylor, Terrence Ferguson. I'm honestly, dude, after watching the tape, I don't like Mason Taylor as much as I thought.
He's almost stuck in quicksand a little bit.
It's not just that, it's just like he drops a lot of passes. He had one good year when he was with Jaden Daniels the season prior, but like if you really watch him, he drops a lot of balls that shouldn't be dropped. And he's good at those, like, getting into those quick positions where he kind of like fights guys off the line and then gets into his spots and catches those like quick routes. But I don't think he's gonna be like that stellar tight end. I really like Terrence Ferguson a lot more out of the two.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If we're taking Terrence Ferguson, take him now because he ain't going to be there at 110.
He's not going to be there in our next pick. We have a
No.
far drop for the next one. So if we're going to take him, I would take him now. And that's probably going to be our pick, honestly. I just think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think they'll give us a bad score as it was like kind of high.
Yeah.
But I think for our need, I think that's like perfect.
It's exactly what we needed there. Now,
Jeffrey Bossa.
safety's still a big need here. Jeffrey Bossa is also on the board. I like him as a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of rumors swirling around at the idea that we might be trading Quincy Williams because he's going to be coming up on a contract year.
It's crazy to think about, but yeah.
It is. There's also
It's like
the need for a
crazy.
defensive interior, and there's 2 guys right now on the board that I don't think will be there at our next pick.
Peebles?
In Peebles and Jamari Caldwell.
Yeah, Peebles
I
is...
like Peebles. I like Peebles overall. I think he's got a good body of work. Obviously, if you want the really big body run stuffer, Jamari Caldwell is your guy because he's literally a round ball guy that just sits right in the middle. So this is like your premier run stuffer, but it's almost getting like prospect fatigue with me that I keep picking this guy. So I'd rather go with somebody different. We also still need safety.
I was going to say,
Sebastian
Castro
Castro
did have a down year.
Again, you're betting on him playing more like he did in 2023 versus the guy that you got this past year.
Right.
I do not like that he allowed 5 touchdowns in coverage this year to his 1 interception. Do not like that. But was a decent guy against the run. I also like Jonas Sanker a lot. I think he's a guy that's rising up a lot of boards. He was 11th in the country in coverage stops, and he was up there when it comes to run stops as well. So I do like him more as an option for us at this point, but I do think defensive interior is a bigger need, and the drop-off is bigger at that position. So I think Peebles and Caldwell should be in play here.
Let's just take Peebles. Like you said, Jamari Caldwell, I've taken him before.
Yeah, prospect fatigue sets in after a while. Couple guys still here.
And Will Howard's still there.
Huh?
If you really want to take a big swing on like Will Howard, now would be the time.
Are we going potential mid-round swing in this scenario?
That is true.
Are we? Or are we just going to continue? Because there's 2 really good linebackers that I'm seeing right now that are still here.
Yeah, Jeffrey Bossa
and Barrett Carter.
Yeah.
And even if we want to go corner and have more depth, Noel Williams out of California is a very, very good corner. Had 7 interceptions this year and had 1 dropped interception. So that could have potentially been 8 interceptions on the year. Was pretty good overall in man coverage, but grades out really well as a run defender. And he's very good in zone coverage, which if you remember from our past video about the potential scheme we're going to be running defensively, Steve Wilks likes to run a lot of zone coverage on defense. So he depends on a lot of guys running, especially cover 3. So having a corner that could come in and be a really good depth corner signing from year 1 and be a guy that could be really good in zone coverage with our scheme, that could be a good option. Or do we take a stab at, the quarterback or even like a developmental linebacker in like Barrett Carter or Jeffrey Bassa to potentially be stopgap options or even like a fill in for Quincy Williams if we don't re-sign him? Because I feel like
Yeah.
that's going to be a really big need later on.
I feel like if we're gonna take anybody, I would take Bassa only
Yep.
because, like you said, who knows if you can pay Quincy? I don't want to take the chance of having absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey
We're
Bassa
good
is like
run defender.
again a
He's a decent run defender.
freak athlete.
Freak athlete, did really well in the Senior Bowl, and I just think this is a guy that'll crawl up boards. Barrett Carter is also pretty good. He's actually very well graded in the run game,
His
but his
coverage
coverage stats are terrible.
terrible.
Stats are terrible. I think Jeffrey Boss is going to be the pick here. Let's no-brainer to Oregon guys, and we still have options at quarterback if we really want to.
Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers and
Right
Dylan
on cue.
Gabriel. Quinn Ewers, we've apparently met with him 3 times so far in the pre-draft process. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe they actually have some interest in him here.
I was gonna say if we're going strictly off like reports of what the Jets have heard, it's like a no-brainer. I feel like Quinn Ewers is like right here. But if we're going off our draft board, it might be something a little bit different.
I mean, safety is still in need. We've talked about him in the past, but Billy Bowman Jr. is somebody that I would really like to take a flyer on in the later rounds. And I think at this point, safety falls off a cliff right now. So, like, Billy Bowman is probably the best one on the board. Upton Stout is being somebody that could be a good option, but somebody that is, like, being projected as somebody that is more of a slot corner because of his size. Yeah, he's 5'9".
5'9".
This is a slot corner converted from a safety. Caleb Ransaw is, like, somebody who did really well in the combine. Like, he ran a crazy fast 40. So, like, people are, like, raving about that, but I don't think this is realistically somebody that we would go after right now. And Dean Clark, apparently we went to his pro day. I don't know how well. He had 1 interception, 1 touchdown allowed. Really high run stop rate. Has a high forced incompletion rate. Decent in coverage, really good against the run.
Played all over.
Yeah, he's played all over. 6'1", 206. But still a guy that, like, needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a guy that we would take. I still think Billy Bowman is probably the pick here. If we want to double up on tight end, we still have a couple guys that we could probably take later.
Yeah. I feel like later, if we took Terrence Ferguson, like the athlete and the catcher, I would rather take like a blocking tight end and like Jackson Hawes. I know we've taken him like a couple times, but if you wanted double dip, he will definitely be available later.
I think safety should probably be the pick here just because we haven't picked one yet.
I agree. I think Billy
Bowman would probably be the best option. All right. So we've addressed a couple of big-time positions of need. We've tackled receiver, edge, tackle, tight end, interior defensive line, linebacker, safety. We've got our guys. I think, obviously, couple of names. You just mentioned Jackson Hawes. If we wanted to go that route, we could double up on the tight end position. Kyle McCord is here as a potential swing quarterback option that we can have. He's still there. Nick Nash, somebody that I know that we like a lot, could be an option as well. If we want to double up on wide receiver, that room is kind of like iffy right now. We have a lot of young, unproven guys in the receiver room, but doesn't mean we can't add to it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, are you leaning more towards, like, a swing quarterback? Or what are you, like, thinking? Because if I was to look
I
at this
personally,
list.
if I'm the Jets, I'm not worrying about the quarterback room. I think our
Okay.
quarterback room is set, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean they won't add to it. I just personally think that where we're at from my perspective, I don't think we need another quarterback.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think I think we should just try to continue to build our team in the holes that we have and just build our roster. Because if we have
Yeah.
the best roster possible, worst case scenario, we're going to be picking one next year anyway.
Yeah, I feel like where we're at right now, kind of like a perfect spot for Nick Nash.
Could go Nick Nash. It's a little different.
It is. It
Let's
is,
do
like,
it.
definitely, and we're so
I'm not
desperate
gonna
for that
second
wide
guess.
receiver room.
I'm not gonna second guess it. We're just gonna take some swings. At
You
this
Dell.
point in the draft, in the fifth, sixth, seventh round, anyway, you're taking swings anyway.
You Dell. Local.
Yeah. So now we're just swinging on traits here. I personally like the look of interior linemen here because we need depth at the interior positions. Guy
Definitely.
that I really like, Miles Frazier. I really like him. Jonah Monheim is also somebody that has positional flexibility, mainly a center, but has played right guard, left tackle, and right guard. So in a pinch, could play any of the interior options if Elijah Vera Tucker or
Joe Tippmann go
Joe
down.
Tippmann gets hurt. Obviously, we brought in Josh Myers as to be our backup center, but there also is a world where we can, kick out AVT to right tackle, potentially have Myers play starting center and have Tippmann move over to right guard. So we would need interior depth along the interior offensive line. Jonah Monheim at least gives you the flexibility to play all those positions.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's no brainer here, especially if we're just trying to beef it up.
Yeah, at this point, we're just looking for depth.
Yeah.
Depth guys.
Last pick.
Last pick, baby. Dean
Dean
Clark.
Clark.
He's there. Dean Clark, guy that we looked in.
Jackson Slater.
Jackson Slater, another interior guard. Played mainly left guard and played mainly left guard. He played
Yeah.
5 snaps at center. I don't really count that as somebody playing center.
True.
Played mainly left guard. So this would be your left guard depth behind John Simpson. I'm okay with it. Looks like he grades very highly in the pass game and pretty decent in the run game as well. Very much a gap type player, but is pretty decent in zone blocking schemes as well. Could be a good guy to hit on if we want to completely round out the interior of this offensive line and just kind of have depth in the interior positions. As of right now, we still only have, I believe Max Mitchell played like a little bit of guard for us. We let go of Wes Schweitzer. So we don't really have much depth at the guard position. So I guess if we're going to go with a guard, we could take Dean Jackson here. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I feel like just take him.
Take him. Let's see what they probably gave us a really crappy grade on all like the mid-round guys, but they're positions of need. They gave us an A on the Ibuka pick.
A on
They
draft
did not like our Princely pick. I think we took him a little higher than normal. Who did they want us to take? They wanted us to take Demetrius Knight instead of Ariante Irsay. But I personally think we obviously, as linebacker was a need. They did still give us an A- for the Jeffrey Bossa pick, so we ended up getting we made it up for later on. Peebles was a B, Nick Nash B+, Monheim was a B-, Jackson Slater was a C. They gave us an A- overall. Top 37% of Jets drafts. So I think overall we built up a pretty big haul of players here.
That's what I was gonna say. You can look at this list and think like, oh, you might have reached here, but that one trade, I mean, look at the haul you can get just from trading down a little bit. Emeka Ibuka is no joke at the wide receiver position. So if we can, did we want maybe Armand Membu at 7 or somebody like that? Absolutely. But I mean, this guy's no joke. I think Princely is just a terrible grade. Honestly, I think he's an absolute beast. Irsay, Bossa, even Bowman, Nick Nash is an absolute steal. I think where we got him. Overall, I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think, and people need to also understand in this too, we got a second round pick for next year out of this too.
Yeah. Let's
And
go to
we're
next year's draft.
potentially
I'm
going to
just
be
kidding.
missing a third, I think, next year because of the trade that we made for Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
So we're going to be
Nice.
already down a pick for next year anyway. So, but because of Hassan Reddick signing the contract that he signed this offseason, we are going to potentially be getting a comp pick for next year too. It won't
Perfect.
count for this draft, but it's going to count for next draft.
Mm-hmm.
So we might be getting a comp pick from Hassan Reddick. So we don't know about that yet. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are on this mock in the comments. Do you agree with the picks? Do you hate them? Would you have done anything differently? Sound off in the comments below. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. And as always, guys, go Jets.